The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control, and not the other way around.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
Please, you can kill it.
Nobody trusts anybody now.
Come on, you hate. You want to live forever?
I got a really bad feeling about this.
Godzilla will live.
And welcome back to another episode of the Monster Movie Stompdown. Of course, you got your host Sludge here, co-host across from me,
Is the Lorax?
and
Mark.
that's right, and the master from Grandmaster from Texas.
Oh yes.
Ruben.
I want to get used to that, to the Grandmaster thing.
He didn't
you know?
say that
Yeah.
Ruben very strong though. Did you hear that?
No, because I think
Yeah.
he's lacking confidence. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got to bring a case to the
He's
table
worried about
today.
something. Yes.
Yeah, and then there's
Well,
trivia. And then, a
Yeah.
case he's got to present for the Kong Retrospective, which is what we're doing for this episode. So if y'all remember a while back, we did the Godzilla Showa era retrospective. And we decided, and of course, Ruben's super stoked for this, is a Kong retrospective of, all of his movies. So, I mean, Ruben, I know you're ready for this, right?
I'm ready. I was ready the last episode.
Yeah. He was good to go. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and if you can see there behind Ruben to his right, you got plenty of Kong memorabilia that he has set up.
Oh, definitely.
Which is very, very nice. And if you did watch or listen to the last episode, you know that I made a rather, according to Ruben, blasphemic comment of Gamera being overall the more popular character. So we're ready in-house as well for what might come later. But so we've got a SH Monster Arts 96 Gamera here sitting at the table with us, as well as the 2021 SH Monster Arts Kong figure. Then we've got some other things I'll show you a little bit later, but they're here for a reason. You'll see a little bit later in the episode.
I told you.
But-
I told you.
And I also have Gamera. He's right here, about to get beaten. Right here. He's about to get beaten by teenage Kong, like teenage angst Kong.
See now how would RJ feel about that? I mean, that's his Gamera figure there, and his dad's
Yeah,
just like
that is
slumping
his figure.
down. And
Yeah,
RJ, I hope you watch this and see the abuse that your figures are taking from your father.
right.
Um,
Well,
but
he shouldn't. He shot out of, took it with him.
Oh,
there you go. Yep, that's your
So
fault now, RJ.
It's no longer RJ's Gamera. It's Ruben's.
Yep, that's where it belongs. So, but yeah, so we're going to jump into a pretty fun episode because we've got a 90 years this year, and that's kind of why we're doing it. Is Kong turned 90 this year, 90-year history to run through for King Kong, and so we're not going to play like a trailer for every movie, but we're going to give you a cool little retrospective Kong video. Check it out real quick. right. So I hope that's a cool little flashback or run through of some of the things that Kong has done. Now, of course, Kong came out in 1933 is when the first film came out, and initially spawned. Most people credit Kong to being the birth of the giant monster film. I neglect that. I would actually say it's not Godzilla, but or Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. I say Lost World, 1924's Lost World. That was the first movie we saw giant dinosaurs and creatures on, but can definitely see where Kong gets that for sure. But he has had plenty of movies over the years. So I mean, 1933 also saw not only King Kong, but almost immediately a trash film called Son of Kong came out to try and capture on the success, and it failed miserably. Then it would go on from there to, of course, next time we would see Kong on film would be 1962 with King Kong versus Godzilla. Did, of course, super, super well. That was a monstrous movie worldwide. And with that, Toho actually had the rights to Kong for a little while. And they would, before we would see Kong on the big screen again, we would actually see him on the small screen. And Hanna-Barbera with Rankin Boss would do a 60s The King Kong show. Now, that came on, it was actually part of Tom something or other. I can't remember the show. But it was all done in Japan. Do you remember what that was called, Ruben? Tom something, the show that it came on with?
I wanted to call it a Kong Power Hour, but that's not what it's called.
That was the Godzilla Power Hour. Anyways, it was partnered with another show, a lot similar to how Godzilla was with the Godzilla Power Hour.
Yeah.
But so it ran for several episodes from 62 to 63. Did very well.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of that show in the next time we would see Kong on film, and that would be in 1967's King Kong Escapes. A lot of familiar things were pulled from the show. Mondo Island from the show is where Kong's at in the movie. A lot of the characters from the movie were based off of characters from the show, most notably being Doctor Who, the villain, is in there. Mecha Kong actually made his first appearance in the cartoon, and then they bring him in as the villain or the main monster he fights in the movie. So King Kong Escapes was pretty much kind of a big culmination of influences from the King Kong show. But it wasn't the first time they tried to make him his own show. He actually was Ebra the Horror from the Deep. The Godzilla movie was originally supposed to be a Kong film. That they decided Kong probably wouldn't draw enough, so they did slap Godzilla in that and decided to give Kong his own separate film. Then it would be, almost a decade later before we'd see King Kong on the big screen again, and that would be with the Dino De Laurentiis 76 remake. Phenomenal movie. Rick Baker handled the special effects for that one as well as played Kong in that movie, which was then followed several years later, 5 years later-ish, with a sequel to that with King Kong Lives with Linda Hamilton. Then it would be several decades before we would see Kong on the big screen again, and that was with the 2005 remake that Peter Jackson brought us. That was a very successful film. With Jack Black, Adrian Brody, and even Kyle Chandler was in that one, who we would again see come later in the MonsterVerse films. And then after that 2005 film, we would not see Kong for a few years again until he hit the big screen, Kong Skull Island, joining the MonsterVerse films, and then, of course, go toe-to-toe with the King of the Monsters himself in the 2021 Godzilla vs. Kong film. And we'll see him again soon, not this year, but next year, with the sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong, which is tentatively titled Godzilla and Kong Origins. So that should be a pretty interesting film.
Well, we're looking at March 2024, right?
March 2024, yeah. When that's supposed to be. So he's definitely got a big history of films. He's had 3, Ruben, you might have to correct me on this one, 3 animated series, because you've got the Kong series from the 60s. You had the second series that Ruben was telling me about I didn't even know of, from I think the 90s maybe. And then, of course, the recent Netflix anime film or anime show that was pretty good. So three animated series. And he's made his, he's dipped his toe, of course, in things like, toys and some comic books that he's been in as well, or adaptations of the movies for the comics. But a pretty big history, especially in the movie world. And I don't want to run too long on giving this information because I know there is one man sitting in Texas who's got a lot of love for this giant ape. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Ruben. Let us know a little bit about Kong and your retrospective review of the King of the Apes, or the eighth wonder of the world.
Well, mine, I'm just going to take you back in time for me, because King Kong, and it's so funny because King Kong and Godzilla, I mean, I couldn't tell you which one I saw first, but I want to say it was Kong because Godzilla had eluded me for so long that it just wasn't one that was on TV. But King Kong, the minute I saw that when I was a little kid, second grade, somewhere around there, and I was, I fell in love with the character. I fell in love with the whole deal, and then seeing him in the Toho stuff was even greater, even though he's drunk Kong in that one, when he
He's
drinks the
drunk
berry
Kong.
juice,
That's
and
a
he's got that
good
weird,
way.
dirt. A lot of people call him Derpy Kong. There's all kinds of stuff but I've always, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but the house that I'm in now, this is the house I grew up in. Okay, and this was my childhood room, not my teenage room, but my childhood room that I'm in right now. And in this room, against this wall right here, was a Kiss Spirit of 76 poster right behind my computer. On this wall to my right was King Kong 1976 poster, right? Sitting right over my bed. Yeah, and then right behind you was always was a Roger Staubach poster. But I had all kinds of clippings and all kinds of magazines of Kong back then. So King Kong 76 is really where, that's where I really, started collecting and started buying stuff. I went over to 7-Eleven to get the glasses, all that good stuff. So for me, Kong, going through all, like the cartoon, I didn't find out about that till later on. I never even knew I just knew that there was a cartoon, and it was, before I was even born. So it never even made it here to the States that I saw it anyway. But, so I've always had it's always my favorite. 76 King Kong Lives. You guys heard the story of my honeymoon with King Kong Lives. So, that one holds a special place in my heart. In fact, I have the DVD sitting something around here somewhere. Might have fallen down. Who knows? But it's there. And I bought that on DVD because they just don't have it on Blu-ray. And, then it goes on to, Peter Jackson's 2005 Godzilla. And that is very, that's, I mean, sorry, what a Godzilla, Kong.
I know we want to talk about the King here, but we got to go for
the King is
not.
Well, I'll tell you, because the King's name came up quite a bit in my research. But 2005 Kong has a lot of nostalgia for me because that's when RJ was a kid. And he was about the same age I was when I first discovered Kong. And, he got to see the magic of Peter Jackson's King Kong is just out of this world. I mean, he got to see a version of Kong that we all wanted.
He looked out too, I think, because with RJ, and so all of us, and I know I'm a little bit older than RJ, is that we for years, man, always heard about and read about the infamous spider pit scene. Remember, how many years it was before we got to see any of that, leftover footage. So, but RJ, man, like with Ben Jackson, when he made sure he was putting that in his film. So he was really lucky because, I mean, he got to see the spider pit scene, Kong in its full extent, like it was supposed to have been, that we didn't get to for many years.
We didn't get
which
to.
is
So you got to see
really
that.
Cool.
So, and then, I mean, I didn't even pull out any of all of his toys that he has, Kong toys. He's got the Skull Island playset. He's got all this stuff, that I'm probably just going to keep. I'm not giving them back to him. They're mine now. So, but, and not only that, but then he got to play the video game. Right, so we got to play the video game together, the PS2 and the Xbox, because I remember the Xbox had a different version of it.
It was. I
want to say it was on Xbox.
It was the same game, but there was, just like at that time, when you had PS2 and Xbox and GameCube, you had, because you had multi platform games, but some of them would have like better graphics, additional weapons, different maps. So there was slight differences between the PS2 and the Xbox.
I just remember him having both versions. He had the PS2 version, and then he had the Xbox version. That big old honker, big old honker of a Xbox, and he would play it, and so I got to experience that with him. So Kong again came back almost like full circle for me. It's like it became a big part of my life again, because I was now collecting with my son. I'm talking about trading cards, posters, he has all kinds of stuff, stored away. And, so that too. And then of course, then we all got to experience it more as adults. RJ was, he was already in high school. I mean, Skull Island, and you got to see Kong
movie.
Again, excellent movie. So we got to see him again. And then of course, Godzilla versus Kong, that was the movie that got us out of the COVID funk, and we went to we actually was that yeah it was right.
Oh yeah,
Godzilla Kong is
that's
the one that got
Godzilla
pushed back.
versus
'Cause
Kong. That's the
yeah.
movie that was credited as saving the cinema, saving cinema.
The
after
cinema.
COVID. Yep.
Because there was, I remember people saying, "You're going to go to the movies, even with COVID." I'm like, I'm not seeing this on the small screen. I'm not doing it.
Oh,
I'm
there's
going to
no way.
see it on
Yeah.
the big screen. Yeah, there's just no way I'm going to miss this. You know, if they ask you to mask up, I'll mask up or whatever. You know, I said I'm going to go see this on the big screen. So it kind of, you know, that got
I
it.
think Mark's allergic to Kong. I mean, before we
you
talk
guys
about
started
Kong-
talking about COVID, and
You
my
got that
body
first?
went into, you know.
Wait,
Oh,
are you sure?
man,
That's what
as I
it
said,
is.
COVID. So,
Yeah.
so for me, and even, you know, even though technically he's not Kong, but did you guys? I know you guys played this game, right? I just went blank.
Rampage.
It's the where all the not Rampage, where all the monsters fight each other. War of the Monsters.
War of the Monsters.
Oh.
Super Nintendo, or is that War of the Monsters?
No,
No,
it
War of the
on-
Monsters was PS2. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Right,
about now.
yeah, War of the Monsters.
I'm
were
thinking
in-
of King of the Monsters. There was 2 of them for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
that came out, but War of the Monsters. know what
I
you're
don't
talking about.
remember either one of them.
War of the Yeah, I think it was War of the Monsters. It was different monsters,
Yeah.
but there was,
Yeah.
you know, so you know, and as you can see, I collect all kinds of stuff, especially from the 1976 era, because that's my favorite Kong. Even though 2005, you cannot beat the special effects and graphics of the 2005 Kong. You just can't do it. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, that, for lack of a better term, it's nice to go back to 1933 and I always am in awe of how good a job they did in 1933 for what, you know, for what they had. I mean, that movie holds up today. I think it holds up beautifully today. But when but I mean, I have to admit that, you know, as far as beauty goes, 2005 is the most beautiful Kong movie. 1933, that's the
Del
OG.
Toro really deserves credit with the 2005 that he may not get sometimes, because you're right,
Yeah.
it's absolutely gorgeous. But to me, what made the 2005 pop the most, and I'm sorry to intervene here, is I've always stated,
right.
when people have asked me, like, well, what do you think's the greatest love movie ever made? I'm like, King Kong, like, period. It's the greatest depiction of the Beauty and the Beast story. And so I've always went back to the 93 King Kong film as being the greatest love movie ever made, until Jackson brought out the 2005 film, because I feel like he felt the same way. That, like, that's what it is. It's a love story. And there's those 2 moments, man, where, like, I'm like, hands down, maybe the best Kong film ever made, because it was that scene on the island after he fights the 3 Rexes, and she's there
Right.
on the edge of the cliff with him. He's all ripped up or whatever, and they see the sun, and she sign language is beautiful. And then fast forward to the end of the film, they're on top of the skyscraper, and he's about to die, and he looks at her, and he just does the same beautiful sign language. I'm like, holy crap, dude! Like, that was epic. So I mean, I want to hats off to Del Toro. He got it. Like, he was like, not knocking the 76 and those other films. They're great movies, but like, nothing Kong-wise has ever truly captured that love story element that the 33 film had until Del Toro got behind the camera.
And I would agree. 33 and 2005 is more of a love story. And I don't want to sound like I'm knocking 76, but 76 had more of a, for lack of a better term, sexual tension, even though that sounds
right. Well,
weird.
no, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It wasn't, yes, he loved her, but it was more of a animal magnetism type thing or attraction. And where these 33 in 2005. Yeah, Baker. Yeah, that face when he's
dude, like
poking her with a finger. I'm like,
the
dude,
way he's
Baker.
looking at her a couple times, I'm like, dude, you know, you're getting a little racy with those eyes there, Mr. Baker.
Exactly. And that's the big difference. Of course, when I saw it, you know, in 76, it was the summer of 76, I was 9 years old. You know, that went over my head for the most part.
Right.
You know, it just
For most kids it did, definitely.
did not register for, you know, back then we just weren't, it just went over my head. And I think I mentioned it when we reviewed it the first time. And I remember my sister-in-law took me and my nephew to see it. And she asked me if I thought Jessica Lange was attractive. And it just, you know, that switch hadn't been switched yet in me, you know,
well, I was
females attractive and all that.
Same way when I saw it as a kid, people were like, "Oh, do you think Jessica Lange was pretty?" I'm like, Who? What? Did you see how freaking awesome Kong looked? Like, screw the lady, man. Like, Kong looked great.
Me, I was all about Kong, and then now as an adult, now I say, oh yeah, I can see why she was asking because she.
I was
She
15,
was
so
a
it was a little bit
beautiful
different.
Mark,
Yeah,
Like,
it was different.
oh, wait,
for you,
stop,
yeah.
rewind.
Stop, rewind.
Me and Ruben were watching with good
Maybe I
intentions,
can
not
catch
Mark.
something. Yeah, exactly. We were innocent. We watched it innocently. Mark did not. That is what we're getting about this whole thing. But all in all, as far as retrospective goes, Kong has always been a big, Godzilla's, number one. You cannot, even
No
though
question
Kong,
there.
yeah, even though Kong got, because of Kong, we have Godzilla, but Godzilla is a different level, and then Kong comes right after that, second. So
He made sure on that second.
He is. So, Ruben, I got to ask real quick,
Yeah.
though, because you were talking a lot about the video games. What other video games has Kong been in?
He has been in.
Setup.
Hold on, just
This
a
is a
second, guys. I'm sorry.
What was it?
I'm getting a union question, so hold on.
Well, see, now I know he did have a Nintendo game that never made it stateside called King Kong Megaton Punch. Megaton Punch, I think is what it is. It wasn't popular enough to make it over here in his hometown. But I don't. Was there any others?
He's been in 34. He's been in 34 video games altogether.
34 video games.
Wow. He
Yeah.
just come back with
Now I would like to know what those 34 video games are, because
I can name them off. Of course,
yeah.
I was saving that for our debate, but I can certainly do that now.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like what? I didn't know there was 34 Kong games out there. I thought there was 4. Or are we talking like
wow. That's a major difference.
Yeah, because I mean, I
there's
know
more
that,
than that.
There's when you talk about like
Of course,
Rampage.
you would think that. Yeah, no, I'm not.
Just wondering.
Let me just pull this up right here. Okay, so Atari 2600 King Kong. Do you have that one?
Oh, yep. That's the first of the 4 that I know of.
Okay, and then there was one for Nintendo Famicom, King Kong 2.
That's
Furious
the Megaton Punch one. Yep.
King Kong, and then a King Kong 2 Revived Legend for for Microsoft MSX2.
Yep, that's
Then
the third
I've
one.
got then he makes an appearance in Wawa World, Konami Wawa World, or
No clue what that is. No clue.
Yeah, I see. And then of course the Peter Jackson video games.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's the
Yeah,
4th one I know
those
of.
came
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Of actual Kong
and then,
games.
And then there's one for Game Boy, and then there's one for Game Boy Advance called King Kong Atlantis. There's one for
they made one for that. Now that, if I'm not mistaken, King Kong Atlantis is that based off of the second cartoon series? Maybe.
I believe so. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I may have to check that one out. Actually.
There we go.
And then King Kong Skull Island Adventure came out in 2008 for the PC. And then they got I won't get, you know what, I should revise this list because some of them for Android or iOS, like for your phone. Do you count those?
No. I mean, only because like, dude, those things come and go so quick.
And then he makes an appearance in Lego Dimensions, Lego Batman movie for the PS4 and the PlayStation 2 and the Wii U, Microsoft One, and the Microsoft 360. And then that's a slot machine. I'm not counting that one. See, right now you got 3 subtracted from my list. I just counted them. I didn't even look. I just pulled up the list and then I counted them. And if you would ask,
he's got like 4 of his own games, but he's made a ton of appearances. Clearly,
right. He's made a ton of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're talking like
exactly. So
yeah. Popular enough character.
I just like
sure.
of course, yeah, exactly. I just put down appearances on the video games. But he's had all those video games to himself.
I see what
And
you're
I'm
doing.
not
That's
even,
a good move.
What are you talking about?
Pulling out his weapons before you
Yeah.
all get started. I see what you're doing there.
I have no clue what you're talking about,
Yeah,
sir.
exactly.
None whatsoever.
And I can see the look in your eye too.
And I almost said, "Well, I should have just said, just say he has more than 4."
Yeah.
But I'm all right. I mean, I got a full page of notes, and I got a couple of like surprise witnesses that he's gonna say, I just got, I need time to talk to this witness or whatever. So I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah,
That's all right.
yeah.
I got one myself, so we're not worry
My
about that.
gosh.
But so,
Okay.
Ruben, I mean, anything else? As far we've gotten up to the Peter Jackson Kong film. Anything else you want to talk retrospectively about Kong? Post
No,
Jackson film.
no, no. That's. I mean, I enjoy Skull Island. I think I've mentioned it to you guys that Skull Island is one of my favorite MonsterVerse movies. Of course, Godzilla movies are always the best, but that's one of my favorites that I catch quite a bit. I'll throw in quite a bit, and plus, it's I've got it on my Movies Anywhere app, so I watch it all the time. So it's one that I watch quite a bit. So.
Well, Mark,
and it was fun seeing Godzilla and Kong. So that one was fun
always
too.
is.
I'm gonna pan it over. Yeah.
Mark, what about you? What have you got to say about Kong in 90 years?
I have never been a big Kong fan. Never have. Never even brought you into it.
Nope.
You that took that on all by yourself.
Right.
And of course, the 33 Kong. I mean, it starts it all as far as I see, and then you come all the way up, and then they're sporadic as they coming through, and 76, and but I think Peter Jackson's to me was the best, was the best of the King Kong movies. The special effects, I mean, just everything, the whole story that he tells, to me was the best all the way through. Then you get up to Skull Island and Godzilla and Kong. I liked the way they brought King Kong up. Obviously, they had to grow him up when he goes against Kong. Godzilla.
Yeah, because naturally Kong wouldn't be able to go toe to toe with Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the other day, I was like, well, Kong climbs to the top of the Empire State Building, and Godzilla tramples buildings like the Empire State Building. So I mean and so I think where they've progressed him to, I thought from 33 all the way up to Skull Island, probably the best monster progression as a character. I think there's not too much more out there that's better than that. They have brought him up unbelievably. I mean, great, and did a great job at it. And so, to me, it's King Kong, and it's always going to be King Kong, and especially in America. It's the American monster,
right?
And so people tend to lean towards King Kong. I brought you up on Godzilla, so it's a little bit different.
You just brought me up with better taste.
That's what it is. Yeah. So I mean, overall, I'm going to keep it sweet, short. King Kong just probably one of the greatest monster characters in the movies today, and probably for a long time to come.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, Godzilla's the top. I'm not the biggest Kong fan in comparison to some of the other monsters, but that's not saying I don't love Kong. And for 90-year history, he's done quite a bit. And that first movie is just, especially for, I mean, you got to talk about Willis O'Brien. There's no way we can bring up Kong and talk about Jackson and not discuss Willis O'Brien and his protege that helped him out, Ray Harryhausen. What O'Brien started with The Lost World, he perfected. Well, he almost perfected in Kong. I'm going to say, in my opinion, he perfected not much later with the Mighty Joe Young film. But, of course, he had Harryhausen help him a lot more in Mighty Joe Young, and I think that helped. But the special effects were just like nothing we'd ever seen before. So it made an impact on the movie industry in a huge way. It's one of those movies that makes such a big impact, similar to something like Jaws or the first Godzilla film. You know what I mean? Something that's like groundbreaking, and so it deserves credit where credit's due type deal. And as far as, monster movies, there's only 3 guys that hold over a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and Kong's one of them. And it deserves to be. Yeah. He's got a good history. So popular so that obviously, East meets West. We had to do, King Kong versus Godzilla in 1962, and then again in 2021. So he's got a good long history for the character. My only downside with Kong when it comes to his history is the repeat. You know what I mean? Like we kind of ran over that same story several times, and not that the movies were bad. I mean, you go from 33 to 76, and like Ruben, loves 76. I love 76. We have for our own reasons. Is a great film. 2005, we got it again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad they didn't do that with Skull Island. I'm really glad they didn't, because that's kind of what we got. The one time where it went off the rails, aside from King Kong Escapes, I'm talking about East Side here and Americans. And we'll I'll talk about King Kong Escapes in a second for sure. But the only time that it went off the rails was King Kong Lives. And King Kong Lives, while is a personal favorite of mine, I loved that movie. Honestly, no offense, Ruben, I think I loved King Kong Lives more than I did the 76 remake. It was just nice to see something. You know what I mean? It was something to me fresh, different. You know what I mean, with Kong.
Yeah.
And
I get it.
And
you're not gonna get an argument from me, because I love King Kong Lives too.
See, there we go. We're good. It was nice to have a fresh take from the American films. Even though that is also the only of these monster movies that we review, as far as the big guys, the kings, that's got a 0 splat score on Rotten Tomatoes. Unfortunately, King Kong Lives is the only one that has that.
There's a shot.
But
which goes to show you, because I'm thinking I know where he's going with this, that Rotten Tomatoes sometimes gets it wrong.
And the rebuttal comes in.
Well, just remember, sometimes Rotten Tomatoes gets it wrong. So he said it, not me. He said it, not me. I don't know who's 5 steps ahead, but So like Ruben said, sometimes Rotten Tomatoes just gets it wrong. With movies. But one they didn't get too wrong with, though, was King Kong Escapes. King Kong Escapes has a pretty decent review on Rotten Tomatoes. And that
I love Rotten Tomatoes. I love it then.
No, they get it wrong sometimes, So King Kong Escapes was the one, different film that Toho got to run with. And I thought it was really, really good. Haruo Nakajima, who played Godzilla, plays Kong in that film. Did a great job playing Kong in that film. It's a fun adventure film, man. And honestly, like, if I have to give credit to any of these films the most, I'm going to have to give credit to King Kong Escapes, even more so than the original Kong, for this one reason. We would have never had the monster known as Mechagodzilla if it wasn't for Mechagodzilla.
Oh, yeah.
If you like it or don't like it, everyone loves Mechagodzilla. We would have never had Mechagodzilla as a character if it wasn't for Mecha Kong.
I can't imagine. I know it's kind of corny, but I can't imagine Kong versus Mecha. Come on, man. Who wouldn't love that? It's
great. I mean, like, that whole final fight on Tokyo Tower is awesome. Like, I love that. Like, the whole time you're building up for it, because you got the brief moment where they might spar off in Antarctica, and it's like, oh yeah, or the North Pole or wherever they're at, and it's like, but you don't get it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, come on, because originally even Mecha Kong wasn't even going to be in there at that point. Magma from the walrus from Gorath was supposed to make an appearance in the North Pole scene. Thankfully, they cut that. I'm glad they did. But that one, I think, deserves a lot of credit. And to me, I think I will give the most credit of all Kong films, because if it wasn't for Mecha Kong, man, we would have never had Mechagodzilla, who was one of the biggest villains of. We just saw. Godzilla, Kong, and Mechagodzilla on screen together. You know what I mean? Like, that would have never happened if it wasn't for King Kong Escapes. So I think he's got a good history. I do want to say, because I brought it up a minute ago, about the Megaton Punch game for Nintendo. If anybody's, it's kind of hard to find because it never made it stateside. But you can find it on emulators or ROMs if you can online. But I do have it and got to play it. And for a monster game, because at the time you had like Godzilla for the Nintendo, which was very side-scroller fun game. Kong was very different. Kong was more like a mixture of Gauntlet meets Total Carnage for Super Nintendo. So it's that top-down fighting view, and it's just chaos, man. And like, he's throwing big boulders the whole time. It's a fun game for about 30 minutes, and then you're kind of like, you get a little bored with it. But it was really, really cool. I was kind of bummed to see they didn't bring it stateside, because I think it would have done pretty decent. But it was an interesting game for sure. But he's got a great run, man. 90 years, still kicking strong, like Godzilla and Gamera, who's still kicking strong. I don't think we'll see the end of this guy for a long, long time, man. He's made a staple in history, and he will be here to stay. And I hope we get to see more of him past the next MonsterVerse film. But if not, it'll be a 10, 15-year hiatus, and we'll see him again. It's just kind of how it goes with these guys. Anything else you guys want to add to the Kong retrospective here?
No, I'm good. I think that's
I pretty much
that covers
covered everything. Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure to convey my love for Kong because it's all nostalgic for me, pretty much. Even the newer stuff, it just takes me back. So, I think I was lucky enough to enjoy Kong and then get RJ in and enjoy it with him too. There's nothing Mark can attest. There's nothing to exposing your child to something that you love and they fall in love with it too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
I mean, it's the best feeling in the world.
Well, now that Ruben's tried to pull y'all's heartstrings.
I thought,
that one.
Yeah,
and hopefully, if there's a grandchild on the way, and RJ gets to do that, and I get to do that as a grandpa.
Oh yeah.
So.
Hey, and you got to make sure that RJ does that. I did that with Jada and Gavin for sure. What was you gonna say, Mark?
Yeah.
Well, I was just when it came out, King Godzilla and King Kong come out in this newest movie, and they were good doing the Team Godzilla or Team Kong. I wasn't really sure which side of the fence he was leaning on. Speaking of Ruben,
either.
I know. Yeah. Oh no, I'm my loyalty still lies with Godzilla,
and that
still does.
And that's a good thing. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear.
It still lies with Godzilla.
When we did the whole Team Kong versus Team Godzilla deal when that was coming out, the entire Reagan clan was Team Godzilla. Sans one Tammy Reagan, my mother, she was very Team Kong.
Oh yes, definitely.
So
I mean, we even got a picture to prove that we're at the theater and we're all in.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Godzilla.
I saw that y'all just somebody posted a memory and I think
that was just came up the other not too long ago.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was the one person that you don't see in that picture is my mother, and I think it's because she was like, screw Team Godzilla. I'm Team Kong. I ain't taking a picture. Who does?
She didn't want to take a picture. Man, she was hardcore then.
But she didn't even show up to the movie theater because she knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. She was like, nope, not doing it, not coming. So, but yeah, I mean, it's we totally get that. And Kong's been a household name for so many people for many years. Like I said, 9 years going strong. He's the oldest of them, and been going around for quite a long time. And
Definitely.
If you haven't seen a Kong film, I don't know why you're listening to this show because you've probably seen a Kong film.
You've got to.
Yeah, sure.
So, but if you've missed any, make sure you check them out because they're all worth watching. Again, 93, you had King Kong. Skip the Son of Kong film because it's a piece of crap.
Oh, that's Chase's favorite.
Absolute
that's
worst
Sludge's
there
favorite
is.
right there.
So go from 33 Kong to 1962 King Kong vs. Godzilla to 1967 King Kong Escapes, 1976 King Kong the remake, and then I cannot remember what year Lives came out. Was it 81?
81, yeah.
81, okay,
right.
so 81, King Kong Lives, 2005's King Kong by Peter Jackson, 2019's Kong Skull Island, 2021 Kong vs. Godzilla vs. Kong. So make sure you don't miss any of them because they are
Great
good
movies.
Great movies. So, all right, it is now time for your all's favorite part of the show, and it's time to test your might.
Test your might. Test your might. Test your might. Test your might. Test your might.
All right, so before we get started on tonight's Test Your Might, of course, we had somebody who had to watch a movie on from the last one when Charlie was here. And Mark, we want to know, how was Robocop 2?
No better than Robocop 1.
Are you serious?
Oh my god!
Like not even with
Come
Kane?
on.
Like come
okay,
on.
How can you tell me that a sequel was not as good as the original?
And this is how that works.
True.
Okay, so somebody's sitting around a table saying, "Okay, let's do a second RoboCop movie, and let's have one of the main villains be a little kid." Okay,
Right?
and like he's some bad A, and he's whipping up on adults, and he barks an order out, and they jump. Come on, please.
He's a great character.
No, he wasn't.
Well, okay.
It was not. I tried watching it with an open mind, which Charlie knew I would. That's why he wanted me to watch it. I think it's corny, it's cheesy, and it's bad. Okay, I did not like any of it.
Oh man.
But I will say,
for Sludge, that's all positives.
Oh yeah, that is.
It's a great movie. I'm like, well, if he's saying this about Robocop 2, I know what's going to be on this list next for him.
Oh,
if he thinks this one's bad.
Oh,
But what about Kane? Kane was great, man. As you know, especially when they put him in the upgraded Robocop.
And this is, and I think, maybe I complained about after the first Robocop about getting his brains blown out, and how would he know his have all these memories? What do they do in this one? They make sure they get Kane's brain. They don't get nothing else, just his brain.
His brain.
And I thought it was just done.
I
thought it was just towards me.
They heard about
they were pulling that. They were just like, here, take this,
Mark.
man. We're taking this.
Mark hated this part.
So it
That's
was
exactly what I'm saying. Is they said, well, we had this critique from this Mark guy.
Oh
so
yeah,
let's do this.
Oh yeah, exactly,
Let's do
exactly.
this.
And then OCP,
Yes.
Revamps RoboCop to like this goody two-shoe.
Oh my
fairy
gosh, those were
thing.
pretty rough. Those
and
were
I
real
thought,
rough.
really, do I have to sit through this? But I managed through, and I'll give it a 1.
A 1?
I'll give it a 1.
Gosh.
Wow.
Oh,
What would
that's
you
where
rate it? What would
that's
you
where
rate it?
I am at on
Sludge?
RoboCop 2.
What would you rate it at, Sludge?
Now, so for me, RoboCop
Man.
2, not as good as the first one.
Right.
Okay.
The first one was bad.
First one was great. Okay,
yeah,
I love the first one. First one is fantastic, man. That is one of Verhoeven's best films. Anyways, the second one I thought was I felt like they just it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Like if I gave RoboCop like a 4.5, I would give 2 a 3. Because it's not as good as the first one, because it's not as a political film as far as the messaging. It just went more like popcorn action flick all the way. But I feel like they nailed all the marks. Like everything I wanted out of a popcorn action flick, they totally gave me. RoboCop 2.
And this is what I get. All right. Now, when you're talking about a movie like RoboCop, okay, and RoboCop 2 being cheesy, being this, somebody that needs to cover and try to hype it will always say, it's a fun movie. It's not meant to be a fun movie. They didn't come out there and say, hey, let's make this fun movie. They didn't do that. This is going to be an action movie carrying on where RoboCop left off.
I disagree.
Okay, because
if you're gonna make a fun, if you want a fun movie, go watch Cannonball Run or something.
There you go.
You know,
there you go.
I wouldn't even-
Exactly.
I don't even know if I'd call Cannonball Run was kind of fun. So,
You don't think that's a fun movie?
Oh, it is.
That's only
Cannonball
about the only
Run's-
good
it's
thing you
fun.
can say.
It is fun,
Okay.
but that's not the same type of fun.
Well, I'll tell you
you're
what,
talking
if
about with this
you
one.
lose trivia tonight, you're watching Cannonball Run.
I'll be glad to watch Cannonball Run, dude.
yeah.
It's been a few years. I'll take a stab at it, So
Well, it can't be. You'd have to say, yeah, that's a good one because it has.
come back. I'll come back and be like, that is one of the greatest films I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
All time.
It's definitely a step up from RoboCop 2. I'll
No
say
way.
that.
Well, it's
Yes.
been a while. It's been
Yeah.
a while since I've seen Cannonball Run, so I'm not going to say that. But I mean, RoboCop 2 is fun. So, all right,
It's fun. It's fun, everybody. It's just fun.
you wanted the movie to be fun. So, all right, let's dive into some Kong trivia here. You guys ready?
Let's do this thing.
Let's-
I'm going to lose
ready.
again.
Let's see what old Charlie has gotten for us this time. Now, Charlie had a wide range of films to go from.
Oh,
He could
90
he could
years
go-
of movies. Let's see. So, number 1, you guys ready?
do it.
Mike's in my way.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to see the thing here.
Well,
Okay. What leading actor had to turn down starring in King Kong Lives? A. Patrick Swayze, B. Peter Weller, or C. Nick Nolte? What
I know
leading
this
actor
one.
had to turn down the starring role?
I have no idea. What's Patrick Swayze,
A,
Peter
Patrick
Weller?
Or Nick Nolte?
No idea.
Ready for the next one?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Number 2. A scene from why would we ask this stupid question? A scene from Son of Kong appears in this Oscar-winning movie from the 40s. A. Gone with the Wind, B. Casablanca, or C. Citizen Kane.
I'll just take the movie. Just give it to me. Whatever you guys want me to do
You got
there.
a chance there.
I have no idea.
Man, there can only
It's
be
a
one
guess.
answer. Come on, Mark.
It's
Think
a
about
guess.
it. Okay.
All right. The German release of King Kong Escapes changed the villain's name to what? A. Dr. Frankenstein, B. Dr. Frankenfurter, or C. Doctor Who? Come on.
You guys know all this. Where do you guys get this stuff from?
What are you talking about, man? Like,
Charlie, you have too much time on your hands, buddy.
all right. So I'll throw you a bone. Okay.
Yeah,
Just
One
forget.
of these doctors is in. It gets every giant monster movie that's released in Germany.
Yeah.
Whether it's Godzilla,
Right.
Gamera,
Yeah,
Kong,
gotcha.
War of the Gargantuas. Okay. All get renamed with one doctor's name in it.
Right.
Throwing you a bone.
That doesn't help me at all.
Oh my gosh, man. Okay.
With one doctor's name in it.
Yes, one doctor's name in it. All right. Any repeats? We
No.
good? Okay. All right. Let me pull up.
No, no, good.
All right. Here we go. Ready for the answers?
Oh, there's only 3? All right.
Yes,
yeah, I'm
there's only
ready.
3 questions. All right. Number 1. What leading actor had to turn down starring in King Kong Lives?
No idea.
Well, it's your favorite. Peter Weller had to turn it down due to being cast in Robocop. Yes.
Sweet.
And he even put.
You know
I
he
got it
put that
right.
in there.
I got it right.
Yeah, like, I love how he put. This is him answering. This is Charlie.
Is it?
Peter Weller had to turn it down due to being cast in Robocop. Yes, really, Mark. He made sure to add that in there just for you. Number 2, a scene from Son of Kong appears in this Oscar-winning movie from the 1940s. Answer is C, Citizen Kane.
What were the other 2 choices, Mark?
Casablanca and
Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
Did they have theaters in the Civil War? And was King Kong?
Well,
No.
Gone with the
was
Wind
Kong
didn't come out in the
even
Civil
released?
War.
yeah, it did.
Not during the
Gone in
Civil
the
War
Oh,
era.
with the actual Civil War. I thought he was talking about.
I was like,
I thought you was
Oh,
talking
I was
about
trying to say
that era of the
Gone
movie.
with the Wind? Are you kidding me?
it's like,
Hey, it doesn't matter. I got it right.
you got that right?
I have got
all
the
right.
first
You
2
did.
questions right.
Dang, look at that.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
man, we might have a
All
3-way
right.
tie here.
Number 3, the German release of
Wait. Look at my paper. I scratched the first one out.
You did. I saw you do it when you did it.
Okay.
I saw you do it when you did it. The German release of King Kong Escapes changed the villain's name to what? A, Dr. Frankenstein.
Mhm.
German movie promoters constantly added the words of image of Frankenstein's monsters to promote but the movies never included the monster. So for this release, they redubbed the evil Doctor Who to Dr. Frankenstein.
Thank you very much.
And I have all 3 correct.
I have all 3 correct.
Me too.
Son of a gun, that's
Hey,
2.
Charlie.
Charlie, what do we do? We all 3 got these right, Charlie. I
God.
don't know now, so no, there's no loser on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm not saying nothing. I am not saying a word.
Why not, Mark?
Not me. I'm not saying nothing.
Marcus, you gonna be quiet on this one?
Oh, yeah. Not saying nothing.
He doesn't want to repeat a RoboCop. So what's happening? Okay, so that's 3 for 3 for all of us, and I don't see any other way than to do the following here. So coming up after this,
Mhm.
me and Ruben have to address and present arguments over who the more popular character is, Gamera or Kong, since we started this the last one. So I'm going to pull an executive card here, and we're going to present our arguments, and Mark will have, since he got those right, Mark doesn't have an off with Mark.
Are you?
Mark,
Mark just said he doesn't like Kong.
Mark has to decide based off the arguments alone.
I believe the phrase is Kong has never been one of my favorites.
So now
Just for the record,
But-
Ruben, I didn't
but I
know
trust you-
anything about this.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about this on the porch at all.
I'll trust you to do the right thing, though. I'll trust you to do the right thing.
Okay, so
I'm all right.
since
with that.
we're all winners and
I
Mark
can't believe it.
doesn't get to win often, or doesn't win often with the trivias, we will throw him another bone like we did with the Frankenstein one there, and Mark will decide based off of our arguments who presents the better argument of who's the more popular character, Gamera or Kong, between me and Ruben, and whoever Mark chooses as the winner, the loser has to watch whatever movie Mark decides. Sound good?
Yes.
Ruben, are you good with that?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay. Well, then
I'm
here we
down.
go. It is time to step into the courtroom and present our arguments for Gamera versus Kong.
Objection! There could be no justice if I call you Your Honor, but the prosecution calls you Honey.
It doesn't matter, Ralph.
Perhaps a compromise. We'll call you Your Honey.
Judge Lorax proceeding.
I love that. Judge Lorax proceeding. So, Ruben, are you going first, or am I going first?
No, you're going first. The judge already said
Or
that.
yes, the judge decides.
The judge
Judge,
said
who's
that.
going
Yeah,
first?
the
Am I
judge
going first?
decided that.
Get to talking.
Okay. So in the last episode, I did state that I do believe Gamera is the more popular of the two characters because we do know that Godzilla comes out on top.
Wait. You didn't present this as evidence. What is this?
This is my,
Okay.
okay, so I have a list of notes, okay?
Okay.
And I'm presenting as evidence into
Okay.
this court case,
All right.
court case here.
All right. Let's
I-
do
I
it.
do believe Ruben might
Exhibit
have the
A.
same. Exhibit
Exhibit A. Here
Well,
it is.
There's a bunch of
Okay.
exhibits.
There we go.
Ruben's ready too. All right.
Yeah.
So we do know that Godzilla obviously comes out on top above everybody else. So it's who's next? Who's the more popular worldwide character where it comes to Godzilla versus Kong? Because I don't think any of us can disagree if one is second place, the other's third, or it's vice versa.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah.
these are the three kings of the monsters: Godzilla, Kong, and Gamera. Those are who comes first though.
Now,
Kong or
now
Gamera?
we're talking hero monsters, right? Right.
Yes, yes,
if
we
we're
are.
talking
Yes, we are.
hero monsters.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could present an argument
In
there
other
for you
words-
two. So
Here we go.
but
No, I'm just saying.
save that for your
because I will. What I will do is present what the other. Well, you'll find out. Go ahead.
Okay. So,
Right.
since I'm man enough to do this first, I'm just going to get this taken care of because I'm confident in my information. So,
oh no,
we wanted to
Well, just challenge my manhood. Whatever am I going to do?
Excuse me, Ruben. Don't be interrupting the proceedings.
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to
we
keep
should've got him a
control
gavel.
of this courture.
order in the court, I guess is what we're saying. So.
Order in the court. That's it.
All right, so
Disorder in the court.
so we're going to run through here when it comes to these two because there's going to be plenty of arguments that Ruben's going to bring to the table. But one of those, of course, now we do know that when it comes to feature films, Gamera holds the higher number of 12 feature-length films over Kong. Gamera has less when it comes to animated series because Kong has had 3 animated series. Gamera has had 1. However, when it comes to the film industry, there is something among the fandom that Kong has never achieved that some might see as a downfall, but most people who understand knows that it is a cult favorite, and that is that Gamera has successfully had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 Mystery Science Theater 3000 versions of their films produced. So, and that is a cult classic favorite. The movies that go to that shows nothing but love for those films, and it shows that how much this genre loves those movies, and they love to have a good time with them. Kong never got that opportunity. Godzilla has gotten that opportunity twice. Gamera has gotten it 5 times. So if you'd like to use the argument that Kong never got it because his films aren't as bad, then you have to argue that Godzilla films are worse than Kong films. So think about that when it comes to the discussion of Mystery Science Theater 3000, because then you would have to say Kong's better than Godzilla. Now, 12 feature films, 1 animated series.
Oh, wait a
5
minute. You're not
films.
saying. Objection.
Hey, I'm presenting my argument.
Saying the films are better or worse is not a disperse. It's not saying that the character himself is good or bad, because you can rightfully say that
then
Kong 2005 is better than Son of Godzilla.
But Son of Godzilla never made it to Mystery Science Theater 3000. Sorry, it's not one of those films.
Okay, so you're just talking mystery. Oh, you're just talking about mystery.
I'm talking about the love that's shown in those films. of that show, of those ones. Godzilla has been on there twice. Gamera's been on there 5 times. Both loved characters by people worldwide for a reason. Now, when it comes to pop culture appearances, Ruben, of course, will let several of those be known. And I would like to state in my argument that rip-off do not count. So this character is inspired by, or this character is supposed to be a interpretation of Gamera or Kong, should not be on the table when it comes to the argument. But so here are the actual pop culture appearances for Gamera himself. He has appeared in Simpsons, just like Kong has, because I know Ruben will bring that up. He has also appeared in South Park. Gamera has actually made it to South Park, something that Kong did not do. Now, I will say, on top of that, Gamera is the only character in this argument, as well as Godzilla included, to ever make it an appearance in the most successful anime series run of all time, and that is Dragon Ball. Gamera has made his appearance in Dragon Ball manga and the anime itself, something that's never been achieved even by Godzilla in his homeland. On top of that, both of them have had comic book
So you're
runs.
saying he's better than Godzilla?
No, I'm just saying
Because-
there's notoriety in that achievement. Because now, if we do say that, we do know that Godzilla is the only of the 3 that's gotten a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But that's a notable achievement that needs to be said. So I will state that when it comes to the most popular, longest-running animated series of all time, Gamera has made his appearance. Not in just Simpsons, but Dragon Ball as well. So East and West. Now, he also had a very successful Dark Horse Comics run, which I would like to bring up and present some evidence to the court at this point, because we have here Gamera #1 by Dark Horse. Now, to be fair, because I do like Kong, I also have Kong #1 by Dark Horse. Now, I do want to state, when it comes to popularity, if you go onto eBay and check out these 2 books themselves, you will quickly find out that the average selling price of Gamera #1 is $30. You will then find out, based on popular demand, the average sale price of King Kong #1 is $5. There's quite a big price difference there.
Do you have documentation of this, sir?
I can pull up the documentation. I did write it down. But
Oh,
yes,
you wrote it down? Okay.
You can go and pull
Because-
eBay, and I can show you the evidence. The average price is as said. Now, on top of that, both of them have had successful runs, but Gamera has also had a successful run in one of the biggest comic book series in Japan as well, by Jump Comics, and that's called Dr. Slump, who has put in another character. Unlike Kong, who has had his own ones, Kong has never made an appearance in another comic book media before. Gamera has, in one of the most successful comic books runs in Japan. Video games. We talked about this earlier. Kong has himself been in 4 video game titles on his own video game series, and made multiple appearances. Could be quite a lot of that appearances, actually. Now, if it's just Kong himself or an iteration of Kong, a la Rampage or the monkey character from War of the Monsters, we shouldn't count those because it should be the character himself.
Right.
Gamera has had 6 total video games, all successful video games, by the way, and 2 appearances in video games as himself, including the City and Shroud game that just came out that had Godzilla, Ultraman, Gamera, a bunch of different characters were in it. Kong did not make an appearance in that very successful game. So Gamera has made it in 6 different video games on his own and 2 appearances as himself. Now, on top of this, he has scored, of course, more movies, huge fan base, as both monsters have. He has done 2 things that Kong never has, and that is impact the world outside of the pop culture media. Kong does not have an achievement quite like these right here. The extinct Cretaceous bayonet turtle, called the Gamera baena sunsala, which was classified in 2010, was named after Gamera. So an actual species of turtle has been named after Gamera himself. No species of ape has ever been named after Kong. The University of Maryland dubbed 2 of, not 1, but 2 of their successful human-powered helicopters Gamera, just to put notoriety to the character. So 2 human-powered characters, their first one, and along with its successor, were both named after Gamera from the University of Maryland. Now, on top of this, all 3 of these monsters, Godzilla, Kong, and Gamera, hold high reviews for specific films when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes. Godzilla, of course, holds the highest, but when it comes to the next one, it's going to be Kong and Gamera, and they do come quite close when it comes to the 33 Kong film, which has 3 times the amount of reviews, mind you, than Gamera 3, the 99 film. Kong has a 96% rating. Gamera has a 90% rating. Again, I must state that, as Ruben stated before, Rotten Tomatoes isn't always correct. Sometimes they are wrong in their ratings.
Yeah.
As we discussed, when
I wonder why you push
Gamera
that.
has the lowest splat rating of 14%, while Kong has the lowest splat rating of 0% from Rotten Tomatoes. On top of that, many critics have actually gone through when it comes to Gamera, Kong, and Godzilla and ranked these and talked about these. These are actual movie critics themselves. As much people know, I do go by Bloody Disgusting's ratings because their rating system is very, very strict as far as their skull ratings and how they do their top ratings. Brian Solomon of Bloody Disgusting rate Gamera 8th on its list, higher than Kong, by the way, for the most kick-A giant monsters in movie history. Chris Koffel of the Film School Rejects, which most people might know if you've not checked out Film School Rejects, please go check them out. Great critic review site. That's better than Rotten Tomatoes. We would all agree with those guys, besides Rotten Tomatoes. We do pick fun of Rotten Tomatoes. Wrote that I would argue that the Gamera franchise is better even than the Godzilla franchise by one film critic. Rick Stevenson, who is a film historian of Looper, wrote, "Forget Godzilla and Kong. The titan that the MonsterVerse truly needs is Gamera guardian of the universe." Stomp Tokyo, who should be dear to all of our hearts as far as giant monster movie fans, called Gamera 3 the finest giant monster movie made since the original Godzilla film. Because as we all know, Gamera 3 won multiple awards, but it has sparked the argument worldwide as being the greatest giant monster film of all time. One that Kong never got appeared or brought to, that case was never been brought from Kong to Godzilla. Godzilla's always been top until Gamera 3 hit the scene, and now it's been an argument amongst the fan base for several decades at this point. No Gamera film, of course, why not to state that, has received the zero, we won't talk about it again, the zero splat on Rotten Tomatoes, even though Kong did. Now, me and Ruben also did go about to make sure to ask people what they thought of Kong or Gamera. I wanted to be as fair as possible with this, and I had to be. So there were a lot of the 5 of the counts for Kong. I had to also give 5 of those to Gamera. My vote count total came to a tied battle, which I hate seeing because I am pushing for Gamera. But Gamera got 7 votes to Kong, 7 votes. The reason why this is a tie is that every single vote stated the following when it comes to Kong. Amongst monster fans and its fan base, Gamera comes out on top. But amongst the casual fans or fans that might not know, Kong would come out on top. So when it comes to the fan base that loves these movies, it became very apparent when I was casting my votes that Gamera would always come out on top over Kong. I did go through and wanted to check a few other things to see who pulls more money, because most of these movies have made a lot of money. Both of these franchises have made over $1 billion since their existence. That goes Gamera and Kong as well. So I wanted to see what else could happen. I did bring 2 figures here, just to kind of reiterate my argument. We've got the SH Monster Arts Gamera figure that I've brought down, and the 2021 Kong figure. So to put it in retrospective here, as the court can see, both great figures, phenomenal figures. These figures sell for very drastic prices due to popular demand. If you go to eBay and check the average sold prices of these figures, both same company, SH Monster Arts. I didn't want to do something like, Bandai versus SH, because Bandai's aren't worth as much nowadays. The Gamera 96 figure pulls a $200 average sell price amongst anybody who goes and buys on eBay. The Kong figure, however, pulls an average $50 sell price compared to Gamera. I wanted to go a little bit further. I was wondering.
What did you pay for Gamera?
I paid $80 for Gamera.
And what did you pay for Kong?
$120.
You paid $80 for Gamera and $120 for Kong.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So I've actually lost money on Kong, thankfully, unfortunately for this. Gained a lot of money from Gamera. But I also wanted to know, because we do like memorabilia here, and we're big on our video formats, to find out what the average going VHS price was for Gamera and Kong. And I was surprised, because I do know that when it comes to VHS circulation, especially here stateside, Gamera is much rarer to find than Kong is. There's so many copies of Kong available. 33. Talking 33 here is what I looked at. But I was pleasantly surprised, because even though I do like both of these monsters and I do want Gamera to win, they actually hold the same price value when it comes to VHS sales. They both average $10 for the original film on VHS on eBay. So you've got some that might go $6, $12, but the average price is $10. So that is my case there. On top of the fan base who, as themselves, including one, Adam Sarge Sandler, Sadler, from the protest, stated himself that when it comes to these two, Gamera comes out on top because Kong couldn't hold a candle. And I quote.
A close personal friend of the defendant, I might add.
I know him.
And a close personal friend of the judge. Are you trying to bribe this?
I know.
Yeah, are you trying?
But I wanted to make sure that I brought a name of some type of notoriety up when it comes to this. Because I could have went and asked, August Ragone, but I didn't. I want to leave August out of this one. But
Because it'd have been next week
okay.
before you'd ever got
that's
him
true.
done.
Yeah, because he'd be explaining it for that long. So that's my case. Gamera, yes, has more films, has more notoriety when it comes to the cult base, and has the honor of being on Mystery Science Theater 3000, even more so than Godzilla. It has more popular appearances when it comes to the pop culture, being in the two largest animated films or animated series of all time, has more video game appearances, more video games himself as a whole, and has also impacted the world outside of the pop culture, something that only one other monster has done, and that's Godzilla himself. So to
Thank
me,
you.
that's
Thank you
popular.
for your testimony, sir, or presentation.
Ruben, I will leave it up to you.
Oh, is it over?
Yeah, as he interrupted multiple times in that one.
Well, Judge, I will say this he did a nice job of presenting his case. Unfortunately, what he didn't do is what he did is what typical defense attorneys do is they pick and choose. He failed to, when he compared comics, he didn't talk about the runs and how readily available the comic is versus one or versus the other, because of course the more popular monster would have a large circulation, hence the cheaper price. Right? So if you have 1 million
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Kongs.
Sir, you need to not interrupt. He is presenting his case.
I object.
No, sir.
Objection.
No, sir. You're done.
He got to object,
Did I overrule that?
but he got to object either way.
Didn't overrule. Isn't that where I shut you up?
Yeah, but he still got
Overrule.
To Oh, cold.
Continue.
You don't know why? Because when it comes to comic books, I know more.
Because all I'm saying is, for all this memorabilia he's talking about, he failed in every single example. He failed to talk about the runs of the comics or the runs of the figures that were available. Kong being the more popular monster, of course, is going to have more made. So if you have more made, they are automatically going to be cheaper because they're easily available. For Gamera, I'll tell you, if it's rare, it's going to cost more. But that in no way predicts the popularity of the monster. It just predicts how much is out there in the market. I'll give you an example. Emmitt Smith rookie card, 1992. There's one card that's worth $200. There's another that's worth $10. Why? Because Pro Set glutted the market with millions of Emmitt Smith cards. Does that say one card over the other? Does not say, it predicts nothing but the glut in the market. And that's what my esteemed colleague failed to present in his argument, because of course he picked and chose which comics. He probably goes, for instance, how much did that Gamera comic book go for again? Did you say on eBay?
It averages $30.
Okay. So as you were talking, I wandered off to eBay, and there was another comic run, which is Kong on the Planet of the Apes. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but those are going for nearly $30. Yeah, so those are going for $100 for the whole set if you want to get the whole set. So those are going closer to the Gamera. Not as close, but then we're going to have to talk about the run again, which that had a longer run and maybe even second and third editions where Gamera did not. So the price does not predict how popular the monster really is.
Well,
what predicts
objection.
how popular okay.
Go ahead.
As we can see on the actual covers themselves, this had a run of 3 issues. This had a run of 4 issues. On top of the run of 4 issues, this has also been reprinted in the new Arrowverse DVD set, or Blu-ray set that came out. On top of that, it's been added to by Matt Frank. Okay, so there's more of this in. What's the word? In
so which one is $30?
This one is $30. Okay,
which one?
The Gamera, number 1.
Okay.
I
And what about the second and third editions? How much are they going for?
That's part of the Blu-ray box set, so I'm not sure. That Blu-ray box set goes for several $100, several $100. But
Yeah,
I was
no,
trying to
so-
be fair, and I want to put this into my case here. I did comparisons by brand, so I made sure Dark Horse by Dark Horse, SH Monster Arts by the SH Monster Arts. And if we go on and we look, when it comes to the unfortunate argument of the baseball cards, that doesn't apply to comic books in the same way. Case in point, I bring up Amazing Spider-Man. The first appearance of
Excuse
Carnage.
me. Your case has already been presented.
As my
Ruben-
objection.
Oh, that's
Ruben-
right. That's what, thank you, Judge. I was about to say, why is this judge letting him argue the case?
Yes.
This is my time. This is
Exactly.
my
I'm
time.
objecting.
Exactly.
Falsified information.
A run is a run. The availability is availability. It's the capitalist way. That's what it is. If you got 100 Kongs sitting there on the shelf and they're not moving, they're going to get clearance. If you have 100 Gameras and they're not moving, they're going to get clearance. Are they not?
Maybe
Yeah,
outside
okay.
of the
Okay.
comic book world.
You need to speak to me,
Yeah.
Ruben, and not.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, back to my argument. As far as making appearances on it, yes, Kong made its appearance on the Simpsons, but I will say that never have I heard Denzel Washington say Gamera ain't got nothing on me. I cleaned that up for the show, but he did say King Kong ain't got nothing on me. Jim Croce never said bad Leroy Brown, the baddest man in the whole dang town. Better than old Gamera, neither than a junkyard dog. No, what Jim Croce said was better than old King Kong is what he said. So if you want to talk about pop references, I don't even think Jim Croce knew who Gamera was, even though he's a casual fan. And if you want to disrespect Jim Croce, then we can go with that. But not only that, but he also made, although this, I will be fair, Judge, he also was mentioned in Brooklyn Nine-Nine for the same line that Denzel Washington says. So it could be argued that it's a Denzel Washington line, but either way, King Kong was mentioned in Brooklyn Nine-Nine by Jim Croce and by Denzel Washington. Never did they even think about Gamera. Second of all, I'll argue the fact, I'll give you the 4 games, but I think he's actually appeared in more. But to be fair, Judge, I'll give him his 4 and we'll just stay with that.
It's 6.
Next.
6 games.
Six games. I'll give you, if you say whatever you say, I'll give him that because he's going to need it. Okay. Now, as far as comic book and short stories, I didn't go on eBay and look because I go off of the numbers sold and popular as far as people go. Values that changes on the, on the book can be printed on cheap paper or whatever. But there is, what I got here, 24 books and comics that Kong has made or been written about Kong, either comic book or books, graphic novels, just novels themselves, like the 1933 book that made it into. Now, if you want to talk about the cost of a book, try looking up what the 1933 novelization first edition is going for nowadays, and I'll tell you, it's more than $30. So we'll just leave it at that. Okay. All right. And he is the first monster in color to battle Godzilla. Not, I know Gamera, he held out for more money. I don't know what happened. Okay. Everybody would love to see Godzilla versus Gamera. But unfortunately, Gamera's got a big head and wouldn't appear on the same screen as Godzilla. So we got King Kong. So we got to see Godzilla in color for the first time against King Kong. So another thing I would like to bring up is there's a little outfit called Crestwood Books. Very popular. And the books go for quite a bit. Now, they made a Godzilla book just like this. They made a Kong book just like this. Very popular among collectors. But then when I searched for Gamera, I didn't find anything. There was Frankenstein. There was Dracula. There was the Mummy. Heck, there was even a Mad Scientist one. But no Gamera. So this tells me I'm just going to make the leap like Mr. Chase did, Mr. Sludge made, that since Crestwood didn't even bother making books for kids and to put in the libraries, that they don't care about Gamera. So that means he's not important because they didn't even bother to make a book about him. And let's see here. On my survey, I actually surveyed strangers, not friends that I used to play with in the band or family members or anything like that. I asked 18 people who the most popular monster with. I got 10 for Kong, I got 6 for Gamera, and I got 1 for Ultraman and 1 for Mechagodzilla. So, okay.
Oh wait,
Okay.
I'm not laughing at that.
But yeah, yeah, that's right. So that's what my survey of complete strangers. But then I thought, I should ask somebody else other than a complete stranger what they think. So I made a phone call that I would like to present as evidence, sir. I had a phone conversation with somebody and they were happy enough to record something for me. And I'd like to play
Okay.
this for you.
Okay,
May I present this?
you may
Okay.
present this.
And okay, thank you, Judge. I appreciate
There's a little bit brown on the nose there, Ruben.
it. I gotta find it. Okay, turn it on, and hopefully this will come out fine.
Hey everybody, it's Frank. And I just want to come on here and give my opinion, because nobody asked me except for Ruben, about who I thought the greater rival was to Godzilla. Was it Gamera? Was it King Kong? And look, I'm just going to say it right now. It's King Kong, period. I mean, anyone that says any other name is just silly. I mean, the silliest person ever with the silliest nickname ever, okay? So, King Kong, hands down, end of discussion. This is your buddy Frank.
And
So
I
we-
did have
we
another
know
phone
he was
call.
paid off.
I did. And so there was another phone call, and he also picked Kong, but his phone call was laden with language that I cannot present to the judge. But I will say he mentioned, who did Sludge pick? I said, well, Sludge picked Gamera. He goes, well, then I'm picking the opposite of that. And then he went on a rampage of
Oh, I think we know who you're talking about there.
All
then.
right. So the final count, actually, even though I put 10, is actually 11 because 12 if you count Stompy. But if you want to take Stompy out of that, well, so all in all, I would say that my interpretation of everything that I've heard and seen today is which monster is actually more popular, not which one sells more books, not which ones make more movies. I presented that already. I'm saying which monster worldwide, casual kids that are 5 years old, that go to the toy store, mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts. If you sit down at a table and say, hey, let's talk about Gamera, how many of those people actually know who Gamera is? And how many would know about Kong? And how many times can you have a conversation with somebody about Kong versus Gamera? Now, Gamera is great. And if you're just talking kaiju, he's number 2. I won't argue that. Kaiju from Japan, right? Because King Kong is also considered a kaiju because he actually made movies in Japan. So he flew overseas, made some movies, and then came on right back. Gamera has not made a movie and come over to America and made a movie, right? And I'm telling you, how many times have they tried to, they make the movies, right? But there's never been a remake of Gamera, right? Nobody's ever said, those, and they're great movies, by the way, I will say. Those old show
Wait.
Gameras.
The 90s series was a remake. Guardian Universe.
Okay, we'll give it that one. All right, so one remake?
Okay.
One remake, but no one said, hey, let's take these Showas and let's update them and make them way better than they, let's update them. You got that with Godzilla several times. You got it with Kong several times. Even though you call that a negative, I call that a positive because he's actually worthy of that. He's actually worthy of being put into lyrics of a song. He's actually worthy of being remade. He's actually worthy of graphic novels being written about him. He's actually worthy of having merchandise compared to Gamera, I would say if you looked up the merchandising of Gamera versus Kong, it would be outnumbered 3-1 at least in worldwide. So I'll even give you Japan, because Japan, it's got a big Gamera market, but there's also a big market for King Kong. And you mentioned Germany earlier, and that was on the, actually, no, I'm sorry, it was on the trivia. And the strange things about that is I was doing my research, and let me read you a little excerpt from that about Germany. Let me bring it closer so I don't sound so far away. And plus, my eyes, they're kind of bad, Judge. I'm sorry about that.
That's fine.
Let me go up here. Okay, so I lost it because there it is. First of all, King Kong's roar has been used in a Gamera film. So he can't even come up with his own roars. He has to steal them from Godzilla. It says right here, King Kong's roars from Toho Films have been used in many kaiju films, including the Ultra series, Gudon Kaiju, Return of the Ultraman, King Caesar. And it says, Gamera the Brave, they used his roar. It doesn't specify where, but just the fact that they had to get his roar from the Toho Toho King Kong. So now the next thing I'm going to talk about is here. It's about, there it is. In some German releases of the Showa era films, changed the name of various unrelated characters to King Kong. For instance, both Jet Jaguar in Godzilla vs. Megalon and Mechagodzilla were called King Kong in Germany, in the German dubs. However, unlike what many people believe, they are not stated actually as being the real Kong, wearing robot suits or confused for Mecha Kong. The name King Kong carried a great marquee value and is likely the reason why the German distributors changed the name around. So if Gamera was so great, why didn't they use the word? They could have used Gamera. People would have liked that. So in conclusion, my argument toward who's more popular was on popularity. It wasn't on sales. It wasn't on any of that. It was on who's the most popular monster and who worldwide, not just amongst the Dungeons and Dragons crowd or the monster crowd or the little niche. I'm talking about monsters should be enjoyed by everybody. And I think more people have enjoyed Kong than have enjoyed Gamera. Not that Gamera is a bad monster. I like Gamera just as much as the next guy. But I think overall, if you take into account the population of this world, and if I had unlimited funds and could go around the world and ask people in the UK, in Italy, in Switzerland, anywhere, Kong versus Gamera, Kong would run away with it. Run away with it. Only because Gamera is a niche. If you're a kaiju guy, man, you think Gamera's the best. But unfortunately, the world is not a niche. The world is full of different people, all kinds of religions, all kinds of different ways of living. And believe me, no matter who you ask, Kong will get a response 9 times out of 10. Or 8 times out of 10. How about that? 8 times out of 80% of the time, it would be Kong. Now, my 18 people that I asked, that was at a place where it was a comic and toy place where I asked. Right. So I knew I'd get the right kind of people, because if I went over to the grocery store, which I did ask somebody in a grocery store, by the way, I asked somebody in a grocery store, I asked somebody at a restaurant, only because I saw him wearing, the guy at the
King
grocery
Kong
store was wearing a Godzilla. No, Godzilla shirt. He was wearing a Godzilla shirt.
Awesome.
Okay. He was wearing a Godzilla shirt. And then the guy over at the breakfast place after church we went to, he asked me, because we went to church, I went home, changed clothes, and then we went over to that little restaurant to eat. And I was wearing my, your favorite, a Godzilla and Minya shirt that said World's Best Dad. And so he asked me, hey, where did you get that shirt? And I said, Hot Topic, I think, or whatever. And so we started talking, and apparently he likes horror movies and monsters. So I said, hey, let me ask you something. So he was actually the very first person I asked. And I told Sludge this because he said, oh, Gamera. Right off the bat, he said Gamera. And I'm like, really? But then I said, really? Of all the monsters? He goes, well, kaiju. I'm like, no, all monsters. He goes, well, I said, you can stick with Gamera. He goes, yeah, I'll stick with Gamera. I said, and I actually explained to him, I said, me and my castmate are having a difference in opinion on who the more popular monster is. And then he says, well, I think popularity wise, Kong is is more popular, but he goes, but I prefer Gamera. I said, and that's fine. So I kept it Gamera. Just so you know, I kept it as a Gamera because that's what he said first. So in conclusion, Judge, I think that if you broaden your horizons and look at the whole picture of the whole world, there's no way Gamera has a chance against King Kong.
Okay.
And I'll rest my case.
I've tried to not do too much, but I do want to object to two things here. One, King Kong versus Godzilla. You brought this up by not being Gamera.
Yeah.
King Kong versus Godzilla is not actually supposed to be King Kong versus Godzilla. King Kong versus Godzilla is supposed to be King Kong versus Frankenstein. And
Yes.
they did not believe they could make the money needed to fund the film. So, as a last-ditch effort to bring Kong back, they actually reached out to Toho to bring in Godzilla so that they can sell the character of Kong for another film. Gamera has never had to have Godzilla come save his back to do another film. On top of that, Ruben is correct when it comes to the first novelization of King Kong. It can go for selling for astronomical prices. The cheapest I could find while Ruben was discussing this information was $1,200. Most expensive I could find was $11,000. The difference between Kong's novelization and Gamera's is that, according to Biblio.com, one hasn't sold in over 10 years, nor is there a sold copy on eBay. So when it comes to who's searching for the right stuff, clearly fans are looking for Gamera and not Kong.
Okay. As the judge in this courtroom here,
This is an outrage. Oh, he hasn't decided yet.
we're not there yet. Wait, Ruben, we're not there yet. I need to make a ruling on this. And for me, as a judge and personally, both of these are great monsters. Both of them are great monsters.
Absolutely.
But that's
Yes,
not what
I would agree.
that's not what's in question here. What's in question
Exactly.
here is
You're a wise,
who's the
wise
most
judge.
popular. Excuse me, sir. Are you speaking while I'm trying to?
Yeah, we can't talk about the
Okay. Who was the most popular? Though, if I am presented before me two movies, Gamera or King Kong, I'm going to take the Gamera movie. I personally think Gamera's a better monster as far as monsters go, a little bit more favorite. But that is not the question here. Who is more popular? Not money, not movies, but who's more popular. And for that reason, I decide that King Kong is the most more popular of
objection.
the two.
Never mind.
And so worldwide, as the casual movie watcher, I think more people know who King Kong is. And for that reason, my judgment is for Ruben, King Kong is the more popular.
I claim U.S.
of the
bias. U.S. bias.
two. And there it is. That's it.
It's okay.
And Frank kind of swayed me a little bit,
Oh,
too.
man. Screw you. I knew it. I thought for sure. I mean, Gamera's affected the scientific community, and Kong hasn't. I thought that'd be my winner.
And you're right. And you're exactly right. But being more famous and known is King Kong. There's no other way about it.
Yeah.
Amongst casual fans. I'll agree. I will secede and agree.
All fans.
No.
You group them all together.
All
fans.
fans.
All
No,
together.
I'm separating casual from the monster movie fans. That's right. You and me. I'm looking at you. So, all right. So Kong won over Gamera from our Americanly biased judge. But so,
Sir, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court here, son.
all right. So I lost that one. So Mark, you get to pick. What movie do I have to
Son
watch?
of Kong.
Son of a butt. Really? Freaking A. Let's just dig it in a little bit more. Like, you lose, I'm going to kick you where it hurts while you're down. God. You know,
Yeah.
Ruben, remember that message chat the other day where you sent that gift to Mark about watching Robocop 2 of that cheerleader kicking that football player in the crotch or whatever it was?
It's back.
That is what he just did to me, just in there.
That's
Golly.
right.
I freaking
Oh,
watch
yes.
that
Yes,
stupid
yes,
movie
yes.
again. All right, guys. Well, there you have it, man. 90 years of Kong. Yes, him and Godzilla and Gamera are the top dogs, but Kong deserves his place in history because he's been around for 90
Exactly.
years. Old man. He is huge in the fan base. And hopefully you've enjoyed the trivia section. Man, 3 for 3 again. Or I guess that's 2 times we've all gone 3 for 3 for winning, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And according to our judge, and you guys let us know when you listen to the episode. Get on the Facebook. Tell us,
Yeah.
who do you think? You know, Kong or Gamera? Who do you prefer more as the better rival? We appreciate you guys for checking out this episode. Hopefully you had fun doing it. I know we did. Had a blast going toe to toe with Ruben on the information with Gamera and Kong. But definitely stay tuned for us next month. We got 2 special episodes coming for you next month, and that is going to be, of course, the next Gamera film. As we run through, we're doing the sequel to the first film. We're doing Gamera versus Barugan. And then for Mark's birthday, he has picked the 72?
I think. Yes.
72?
Yes.
Movie
72.
The Night Stalker.
Yes.
Since we have gotten into the TV realm, we decided to we got to watch Kolchak. We got to watch something with Kolchak. So we decided to start with
That's
the
the
movie.
original. That's the original X-Files right there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's where it all
Yeah.
started, was
is the original-
Kolchak. So,
is our stuff.
yep. So definitely stay tuned with us next month as we do Gamera vs. Barugan and the
Ha